think, a pretty exciting video. At least I'm excited to make it. As the title suggests, and as you can probably see here, this is a comparison of a Viro HW97 and a Viro HW95 or Beeman R9, as the imports are called. And I think right off the bat, for the uninitiated, these are kind of your top dogs in their respectful playing fields. Obviously, you have other competitors, but we're just going to be talking about these right now. Very high quality guns. And there's one big difference between them. It's that the 97 is an underlever, meaning that you cock the gun with a separate lever from the barrel, whereas the 95/R9 is a break barrel, meaning that you cock the gun using the barrel as a lever. And I'm not going to get into which one is better, which one's more accurate. You've heard it all before. You already have your opinions on the matter. I'm going to tell you which gun is done better in their respective fields, because Viro is a really high quality company, and anybody thinking about buying one of these guns, it's a serious investment. It's several $100s. And if you're maybe between these two, or maybe you're between the 97 and a TX200, or Viro or Diana or something like that, there's a lot to think about in terms of how well done these guns are. And just, is the R9 a better break barrel than the 97 is an underlever, or vice versa? So I just wanted to get into it real quick and show you guys basically a really good comparison of these two guns. So up first is the 95. Anybody who's watched my more recent videos knows I recently bought this, and full disclaimer, this is not a stock 95. This is a highly modified gun, completely custom stock, all custom internals, moderator, and I have an Athlon, I think this is a Midas 3-12 scope, so it's not stock. However, these two guns are tuned to similar levels of having a full internal tune done to them for full power, not sub 12 foot-pounds. So I still think it's a fair comparison and it's a fair representation, and really tuning the guns makes them more enjoyable. I don't think it makes them more accurate though. These guns are so accurate from the get-go. And I want to say right off the bat, if you're shooting under 50 yards, you don't need the 97. This is a serious contender. I haven't shot this gun a whole lot. I've only had it for a few weeks, and it's December here in New England, so it's pretty cold, and you really can't get out shooting much. Now, that being said, the shooting I have done with it at roughly 20 to 25 yards, it's more accurate than I am, and I have a lot of experience shooting. I've built my own range. I've shot consistently for periods of months. I've shot every single day, like 100 rounds a day for years on end. I've been doing that, so I'm a very good shot in this scenario. And this thing seriously outshoots me all day long. If I'm missing a target, it's because of me. And going to the 97, yeah, on paper it is going to be a little bit more accurate from like an engineering level, and from a technological level it will be a bit more accurate. But how can you get more accurate than a gun that's already more accurate than you are? This isn't a light gun. I'd say right around the 8-pound mark, so definitely hefty, on the upper echelon of what you would want to carry around in the bush, hunting squirrels, rabbits, whatever. There's also in 17 cal. You can get it in 22, and you can probably find them in 20 cal if you're weird like that. And for a feature set, Viros tend to have a very short barrel, because you just don't need a long barrel. Long barrels just give you really bad harmonics on these springers, so, and you just don't gain any power out of it. It doesn't make it any quieter either. So the cocking effort is fairly light. You have no bear trap. The trigger is phenomenal. This was tuned, and I've already done a full walk around of this gun, so I'm not going to go too into depth, but this does have the record trigger. As you can see, that kind of iconic adjustment screw to the rear, and it's as good as people say it is, probably better. Having shot high-end competition center fire and rim fire triggers, and knowing a lot about triggers, taking classes on triggers and timing and whatnot, this is a really good trigger. This is the best air rifle trigger you're ever gonna find, and tuning it makes it better. The safety is a little annoying to get used to. Vira has an automatic safety, and that's also true on the 97. But once you get used to it, it is nice. I only wish that you could turn the gun back to safe without having to, basically the only way to put the gun on safe once you take it off safe is to recock the gun, or you have to fire it and you're stuck in the fire position. That's my only complaint about the safety and trigger group, and that's true on both of these guns. I'd say if you're doing any kind of stalking, essentially, if you're going out and going after any kind of game, I would lean towards this. I wouldn't immediately disqualify the 97 and just say this is better, because plenty of people stalk with the 97. I've seen videos of guys, especially in the UK, doing really, really well, going to town really with the 97 with stalking hunting methods. Also, this gun, I believe you can get it there. You can get it in more meaningful variations of, you have the 95, you have the R9, you have the Luxus, you have multiple different stocks, which obviously is not represented here. You can get open sights, and it comes in at a much cheaper price point. Generally speaking, it's going to be $200 cheaper to buy one of these than a similarly spec 97. So that is something to keep in mind, that you have an insanely accurate gun that's a couple $100 less than a lot of the top of the line underloaders. So yeah, I'll go and I'll kind of put you in the corner with the 97 now. So picking up the 97, it's like the most immediate thing is this is a heavy gun. As this is set up, it's got a 4-16 scope on it. It's a solid 3 pounds heavier than the 95. This gun weighs over 10 pounds. You can very comfortably shoulder it, but not for long. I can usually get around 3 to 5 accurate shots offhand before my arm starts to get tired, especially because a lot of the weight is right here. Like, this is just a solid steel rod, and that's very far out on the gun, and it impacts your handling quite a lot, and it makes you appreciate something like a pro sport where you're still getting the under lever, but the lever is under here rather than up here. So definitely not the best handling gun. The stock is extremely chunky. It's super thick. Like, I can barely get my fingers around the pistol grip. The Monte Carlo is just a very, very thick design, and it's meant for shooting from a rest, really. I bought a rest, I don't know if you can see in the corner, I bought that specifically for shooting with this gun, and this is a niche gun. The 95, I would say, is much more of a general purpose dual gun for what you can want out of an air rifle. Both of these guns are going to last forever. I have no doubt that if I take care of these, they will both outlive me, because they're made probably in the same factory, same company, and they're just amazing, amazing pieces of equipment. I will say, if I could only have one, air rifle in general, it would be the 95. If I could only have one between these two, it'd be the 97. And you gotta remember, I bought this before I bought a 95. I was much more excited about buying a 97 before I ever thought about buying a 95. That was on a whim. That was last minute impulse buy. This was planned months ahead of time. I was saving up for this back when I was a teenager. And there's a good reason for that. This thing will go out and I regularly shoot this at 120 yards. And with typical JSB 18 grain pellets, I will seriously be between 2 and 3 inch groups at 120 yards. With a 22 caliber air rifle, making around, I think, 22 foot-pounds or something. It's just crazy. It's just really, really hard to fathom that an air rifle is doing that. And again, these guns are tuned. And I don't think that makes a difference within 50 yards. I think it makes a difference past 50 yards. And I think that's where a break barrel is going to start to fall off, is like, I'm getting tired holding this. That's how heavy it is. Is at the long range shooting, whereas I would feel comfortable shooting a squirrel out to 75 yards with this because it is more powerful and it is a bit more accurate. A squirrel with the 95, I'd go out to like 30 yards with it. Well, that's also because it's a 17 cal. So there is that to consider, is that if you're like in a blind or you're just a lazy hunter and you see something across the field, this might be a bit better for you. One thing I can say, this does come in a lot of options and configurations, and you can get like a budget model of it. And at first glance, I would say this has a more robust lineup of models, but it's not really a super diverse lineup. You can't get open sights. If you want open sights, you got to go with the 77. And then when you go with the 77, you lose the raised cheek piece. I think the 97 needs some modernization. I think that they need to improve the teardown process on this a lot. It's a real pain. And just some other odds and ends. Whereas shooting the 95, I don't think it needs any change. I think this gun could use some new stock options and a better bluing as well. On both of these guns, I think could be achieved. If you look at like the Air Arms guns, or I have some shotguns in my safe there that are in a similar price point that just have a nicer bluing on them. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat at the door kind of going crazy for no reason. And I think really the best way to show what these guns are better for is the scopes I have on them. This is a 4-16. Good for shooting out to 150 yards, I'd say. I would really be happy with this before I would start asking for more. That's a 3-12. I would maybe shoot out to 75 yards before I would be like, I need to put a bigger scope on there. And I feel like that's really just sums up the different purposes of these guns. And a lot of people talk about break barrel versus underlever, but they talk about weight versus price and power versus accuracy and whatever. I'm talking about range. And that's something that not a lot of people talk about, because a lot of people, when they go out to ranged air rifles, they go straight to PCP. I have a PCP. This is more accurate than my PCP. And it's more fun because it's so much more simple than a PCP. And I've tried to get into those guns. I really have. But these are just pieces of art, in my opinion. And ultimately, I don't want to give you one of those BS, oh, it's up to you answers, or you need to decide for yourself, whatever. I'm going to phrase it, if Viral started to do poorly and whatever, they're in a bad economy, they're not selling a lot, if they had to cut down their lineup and they needed to only run one of these guns anymore and the other one we had to say goodbye to, at the end of the day, they would go with the 97. They would keep the 97. And the reason is it's iconic. The 95 is a fantastic gun and has a cult following, and I love it. But the 95 can be replaced by the 98. It can be replaced by the 80. It can be replaced by the 50. You could even argue it could be replaced by the 90. The 97 could not be replaced by anything. I don't even think the 77. And I also don't think that the what's it, the 55, the 57 is the smaller, lighter underlever that they have. I don't think either of those could fill the same niche that the 97 does. And it's just a very unique shooting experience that even shooting the 95, there's not a whole lot like it. And it's not really one of those describable things. And it's also a very unique working experience that is just, it's really fun and just unique and interesting to work on. So is the 95. Don't get me wrong. It's a tiny bit more run-of-the-mill, though. So I hope that clears up your answer. Obviously, if you want a brake barrel, get the 95. Why are you even watching this video? And if you're here trying to bash either of these guns, again, that's not what this video is. I love both of these guns. I try not to buy guns I'm not going to love. Looking at you, Beeman Commander. I'm very happy with both of these guns. And if you were on the fence about either of them, I would recommend both of them wholeheartedly, even as someone who's overpaid for both of them, and know their differences, and that a 95, here's a good way to put it, a 95 cannot do what a 97 does. A 97 can do what a 95 can do, and then some. A 97 is just really fucking heavy. It's really, really heavy. And that's, I'd say, the biggest downfall of that gun. But again, it's a niche gun. So anyway, I don't want to just keep talking in circles. So with that, I want to bid everyone adieu, and hopefully this video does well, and I hope that more people get into these guns so that we start seeing new models coming out again, because we haven't seen a new model in quite a while now. So thank you guys for watching till the end, and happy holidays.